Welcome to my video. Last night I was served with a document, or about a ½ inch thick document from the HOA lawyers, which are collection agencies, and they're going to take me to court. I have 30 days to show up in court, and right now I have about at $100 a day fine that started in October 1st of last year. I'm up to well over 40, maybe $55,000 by now in fines. Plus they're writing up things on my lot that they should have wrote up my neighbor, like weeds. The people who go around and writing up people, they don't know where the lot lines are. They assume they know where the lot lines are. Well, my lot, my neighbor, his side of the house that faces me, doesn't get a lot of action. It's a rental, and nobody ever pulls the weeds. And when the weeds get up to about a foot high, a neighbor comes along with a spray bottle and sprays all the weeds so they die. And then they sit there. He doesn't pull them out, whatever. But I went off again. But this is Gary Solomon, and what I'm going through right now is everything he describes here. I own my house. I'm 75 years old. I spent 4 years in the Marine Corps, 68 to 72. I consider myself a loyal American patriot. I resent the fact that my HOA and everybody in the town of Buckeye considers me a Marxist, and that's what's going on. This is one of the most polarized places on the planet. I've never lived in a place where there was more white evangelical Christians than here in Buckeye. And they all look at me like I'm profane. You're not one of us. You didn't knock. You didn't come up with any passwords. Okay? You didn't join any of our churches. You were a total outsider. You didn't have anything to do with us. You didn't even go to our parties at the HOA. Whenever we threw a party on a weekend, you never showed up. It's like you were snubbing us. I wasn't snubbing you. I had a job that was paramilitary. I worked for the airlines. All right? I started out as a new hire with America West, and that gave me the worst schedules and the worst hours, graveyard and weekends. So I couldn't go to any of your parties. That's why nobody knows who I am. But let's start. This man is going to describe in this video, I'll sit and hopefully I can stay quiet, but he's going to describe how what they want you to do is get to the point where you miss a dues payment. I have made 5 dues payments in the last year. I've had, 4 of them, I've made and I've sent in registered mail return receipts. I even make a video. The first 2 invoices for my dues with a pay stub for March and June, I never received. I have recorded videos on YouTube where I called up first AAM to find out. They assured me that they're going to send them out. They never sent them out. So what's happening is the HOA and the golf course and the town of Buckeye are all in cahoots to get me out of here. Why? Because I have a different point of view about Tract A in Parcel 12. But let's start with this man. He's very intelligent, and His scenario, like he says, the guy that owns the house, when you own the house, you're the big target. I own my house. I owned it from the beginning. And I'm single. And I'm elderly. I'm 75. And I've never had to deal with a lawyer in my life. But right now, they've got me to the point where I have to hire a lawyer. And I've talked to 4 of them over track day. And the problems I'm having with the HOA, and not one of them really wants to help somebody from out of state, from California. They think I'm provoking, I'm rocking the boat, okay? But let's start in with this fella. I might interrupt if I get to a point, but this is about 6 minutes long. His specialty is HOA syndrome, and I have it. I've had it for over 10 years. Ever since I found out the graft that took place over here in our parcel, where the emergency ingress and egress for emergency vehicles and rescue vehicles, fire and rescue, was taken out of service 20 years ago. Also, my house was converted and my lot was converted into a retention basin. I have video to prove it. But let's get started.
The biggest nightmares related to homeowners associations are foreclosures. Now, in case you're not familiar with just kind of general language, a foreclosure means that a document is filed with the courthouse and your house goes up, usually for auction, and someone then or the bank buys back the house. At the time of this recording, enormous lawsuits are going on against banks for having illegally foreclosed. But this discussion specifically looks at homeowners associations. Okay, you haven't paid your fine. Can you be foreclosed on for not paying a fine? No. You cannot be foreclosed on for not paying a fine for a weed, for a garage, for a door, for a crack, for whatever. That's a fine, but you can have that fine accumulated and the property liened. Once the property's sold, the HOA gets paid for it. Call it money in the bank. And it's great money in the bank because you see it accumulates more fines and more interest. I will show you later on examples of fines placed by HOAs where the fine was $100, but the fee for not paying it was $25. And then it compounds to $50 and $75 and $100 and so on. Now, if you don't pay your HOA dues, you can be foreclosed upon. Let me give you an example in its worst case. You own your home outright. Your home is worth $300,000. You're on vacation and you've neglected to pay your dues. Oops. Slip by you. You get a letter. You didn't pay us. There's gonna be a problem here. And for whatever reason, you don't or you didn't pay. You're angry now. You're upset. And with that non-payment now becomes a series of fines. But these fines can now cause you to go into foreclosure. Let us assume for a moment that your dues were $300. You don't pay it, and now you have fines against those dues of $400. And you still didn't pay it. You lost your job. You're ill. Any number of things could have happened. You're angry, whatever the reason is. And now your local HOA and collection company, they do a search and they find out you own your home. You are one valuable member of the community. Not to the community, but to the collection company, the HOA, and the management company. Because they want to accelerate your home into foreclosure. So the next thing that happens, you get a letter from the collection company. And oops, that $400 bill is now $2,500. You're living on a fixed income. You don't have $2,500 to pay. But if you don't, they will foreclose on you. And once that foreclosure happens, you no longer have right to the property, and they can arrange for the constable to come out and have you removed. Who gets the property? In my opinion, in my humble opinion, these properties are filtered into the hands of friends, family, and business people that are waiting for this to foreclose on, like predators. Like predators. The groups most likely to have this happen: single mothers with children, the elderly, those individuals in the community that are ill, and those individuals, young and old alike, who own high equity in their home. Equity theft. And it's legal. It's legal. It is so critical that this be stopped. And we can stop it if we get together and work to stop it through a series of means that I will talk about.
Now, let's continue on. I love this guy. I discovered him 10 years ago. Like I said, it was like a life
I'd like to
preserver.
talk to you about collection companies. First, let's understand. Collection companies are businesses. They're not members of the community. They don't live in the community. They have no interest whatsoever in that community except for one thing. They make their money off of fines and fees. I've said before, a bad day for a collection company is when they don't get a notice in from an HOA saying, go after Bill, he owes us money. Yay! We're making money now. Well, the truth is these collection companies receive hundreds of notices from HOA saying, go after our fellow neighbor. Get him for us. He had a weed. Get him. He left his door open. Get him. His kids were out on the front lawn. Get him. He left his trash can out. He doesn't have the right landscaping. His house needs to be painted. His window's open. It should be open. His light is out in his front lawn. He left his car out too long. And on and on and on. And this is worse inside gated communities, where they can fine you for far more things that actually, for the purpose of this recording, go beyond your imagination. The collection company is a business and has one interest and one interest only: make money. Although it's disguised in, we'll collect the money for you, HOA of America, and we'll send you a check when we get it. So they get that $2,500 check, they send the $200 that's owed to the HOA, and they put the $2,300 in their pocket. Now I'm going to also now say another personal opinion. I believe that the collection companies incentivize certain people to make sure that they get those letters. And that the incentives that go out to people possibly on the board and possibly with the management company. Tracking those dollars is very difficult. but we're now beginning to look at possibilities of racketeering and other forms of corruption. It is unfortunate that as people are listening to this right now, some of them are HOA management companies and collection companies, and they're laughing. And they're laughing because you can't do anything. You can't stop us. And when that kind of narcissism takes place, mixed with the corruption, we have a recipe for disaster. And I'm going to explain why.
Okay. Violence. We're going to stop him here. But it just goes on and on with this fella. I'm going to stop.
In my work, I have tried to, on numerous occasions, explain to officials, police, government agencies, we're looking at the potential of violence here.
Okay, I'm going to stop this.
We're looking at people.
Now, excuse my lack of skill with this computer, but I'm most concerned about what his content was, and I'm going through this exact same scenario right now with my HOA. I own my house outright. Okay? I'm a huge target for them. He talks about a $2,500 fine. My fines right now are up to over $50,000. All right? Over $50,000 plus all the money that they're giving the lawyer to foreclose on me is going to be added to that fine bill. I want to try to get across to everybody, I have no malice for anything in Buckeye. When I came here and saw this place 20 years ago for the first time, I didn't even know where downtown Buckeye, Monroe Street was. I thought Buckeye was Watson Road and I-10. That's all I knew about it. Okay? I had no clue about the type of demographics that are in Buckeye. Yeah, but I soon learned, and I'm learning year after year after year, what the demographics in Buckeye are. This is one of the whitest communities on earth. I've lived all over the country. This is white evangelical nationalism. Midwest. The realtors here and everybody here caters to Midwest buyers. I sold real estate in Seattle back in 1978. And I went to school. I took a 90-hour course. Let me give you a little what happened once. This young couple were empty nesters. Their kids were up and out of the house. They had a little 1,100 square foot Rambler, what they called a Rambler, with a carport, and the man was obsessive about keeping it up. This little house was like brand new, okay? And I did for sale by owners. I went out, I was sending out leaflets, I was hanging things on doors, I had my own little farm system, and he was in it. So I saw a for sale by owner, and I went and I did my presentation. I convinced him that you're going to get a lot more exposure on the multiple if you list with me. And he took a liking to me. He trusted me, both him and his wife. Strong American patriots, hardworking. He kept that house immaculate. Well, I took the listing in, and in one day it sold because I worked in an office of ladies that were really into realty. They've been doing it a long time. They had long lists of buyers. And when I took that listing in, it sold the next day. It sold the next day. to a young couple that Ken and Barbie, I call them Ken and Barbie because she was blonde, he was a young, beautiful young couple, just got married, ready to settle down and nest. And when they saw this house that was in such perfect condition and taken care of, it was like a gingerbread house to them, and they jumped on it. So as I went back to tell the guy, and I had to do business with him, as I was driving out of the neighborhood, I came on another for sale by owner sign, and I figured I had bragging rights that I had just listed a house and it sold in one day. So I approached the owner of this for sale by owner, and he was a man in his 40s, an American, white. And I told him, I said, I just listed a house down the street and it sold in one day. And if I list your house, I've got a whole stable full of hard-charging realtors in my office that'll get this house sold probably in a couple days. And his reply to me, I couldn't believe it because I was a New Yorker. I'd just gotten out of the Marine Corps. I just lived in upstate New York, went to school in Albany. I dealt with every spectrum of humanity, all right? Every ethnic group. So I was a little taken back when this fella told me, he says, we're not really interested in selling it publicly. He goes, I don't want to list it with you because you might sell it to somebody we don't want here. Our church, he admitted this to me. We have a neighborhood church, and we're trying to get somebody in here that's part of our church, part of our congregation. All right, we're trying to keep this polarized. We don't really care about money or letting Americans in here with money. We don't care if they got money. We care about their political posture. Right? So I know how people think here, and I feel that the whole town of Buckeye is the same way. We don't need people from California in here. People with clipboards, people who are politically activists, people who stand outside of supermarkets with collecting petition names on a clipboard. We don't want those people among us. All right? We built this golf course. We built the community. Everybody grew up together. We all know each other, and we don't like outsiders. That's what I'm going through. Sorry if I offend anybody in Buckeye, but I know what's happening. I saw this video 10 years ago after I got out of jail, after they threw me in jail for missing a court date I didn't know about. Never got served on a court date, never knew about a court date, but they threw me in jail for missing a court date when my neighbors complained that I was provoking them by walking on a public easement. I had a plat map that said I could walk, and I'm a New Yorker. And I'm from somebody from Vietnam era, all right? I believe in questioning authority. I believe that dissent is the purest form of patriotism. I don't consider charging the Capitol building and taking the stars and bars and attacking police and being a patriot. Okay? I've done my time as a patriot. All right? I spent 4 years in the Marine Corps. I served. That should give me a little bit of civil rights. It didn't give me any civil rights in Buckeye. All they saw is you didn't knock. You didn't have a password. Okay? Nobody knows you. And you're not a Christian. Oh, and one more thing. I registered as an independent. Heaven forbid. Heaven forbid. You can't even pick a side. All right? Pick a side, Democrat or Republican. Well, now I'm a Democrat. Most of my life I leaned Republican. All my life. From a little town in upstate New York. All right? More or less been Republican all my life until I got out here in Trump land, Buckeye. And I found out what real Republicans are like. Okay? You either have to have a password or be part of their club or lodge, or you're a target. And that's what I was. A target. Thank you for listening. Like I said, this guy has got 101 videos. I may do this again on other videos, but I wanted to make sure you saw these first two videos on foreclosures, their mechanism for doing it, their strategy for doing it, their tactics for doing it, their gamesmanship, what they're going to do. These two first videos said exactly what HOAs are all about. HOAs are Jim Crow. Jim Crow during Reconstruction down south. They let you buy in because they can't stop you from buying in, but once you buy in, that's when they start working on you. If they don't like you, they start making laws. And they've been making laws, sending me letters. I need an accountant and a bookkeeper and a secretary to sort out all the letters and communications they send me. Please don't ever buy in an HOA. If you're like me, you don't like to have to ask an idiot for permission to put something on your property. These guys that are slave chasers here, Chuck and Wayne, their vision of what Sundance should be is the Nuremberg rally in 1936, where you got 500,000 people all stand up, lined up like dominoes. They're all dressed exactly the same. They're all saluting, going, "See Cal." That's what I figure the two slave chasers were looking for. Plus, there's selective enforcement. When they get on their horse, it used to be Chuck's big pickup, his big Ford pickup. Him and Wayne would get into it on Friday morning, and they'd go through looking for write-ups. And like the man says, there's incentive. Their incentive is to get as much paperwork on the undesirables in the community as they can and start working on them. And that's what they did to me. All right? Their vision, they don't want to see Woodstock. When they see a plant or something on my yard that I did without asking for permission, saying, "May I?" All right? I don't feel I should have to say, "May I?" to two guys that don't have any architectural background. What they are, they were here when the place was built. All right? They got hired from either Hancock or Meritage to be incentivized slave chasers. And when they leave, when they are out in their truck, they got two lists. They got the people who are undesirable, the people that they consider profane, and then they got a list of, I'll call them lodge brothers. Friends, family, lodge brothers, people they grew up with, they've known all their life. They're not on the list. They're never going to get written up. But I go on, but you're looking at a person with HOA syndrome. I've had HOA syndrome ever since the first day when the realtor told me that nobody liked this. The hair stood up on the back of my neck because I had sold real estate in Seattle. I know how people feel about California people. They hate them. And I come in and settle the score. All the people thought that that Meritage was eventually going to drop the price tag of these lots overlooking the lake from $25,000 to $15,000. These people from Buckeye, all they had to do was go take a trip to the peninsula next to the SFO where I live in San Francisco and take a look how an old garage that was beat up, needed to be fixed up, sold for $800,000. Why? Because it was on the hill in Millbrae overlooking all right, on the peninsula. These people clearly didn't get it, and they blame me. You should be blaming Meritage. Don't blame me for buying 3 houses. Blame Meritage for selling them to me. When they found out that I had cash and great credit, they made sure that I was able to buy 3 houses. But as soon as I got in here, within a month and a half, I had a letter in my file for violating. That's what I'm saying. Jim Crow, Reconstruction, down south. Segregation. Now I'm a target for foreclosure. Thank you for listening. This is frustrating. I know I bounce around. I'm talking too much. But try to imagine the distraction of trying to live here where every 2 weeks you go to the mailbox and you got a do better letter. And that do better letter doesn't give you any reference in the CC&R. All it says is you're out of compliance. This is out of compliance. Where's the reference? Where do I go in the CC&R? What reference did you use in the CC&R? That letter should say per yada yada yada, per page, paragraph, sentence. In the HOA CC&Rs, you're out of compliance. Per this. They didn't do it. This thing they give me last night, this document they served me, has got all kinds of detail in it that they never sent to me for the last 2 years. They wouldn't put it in a letter. They wouldn't send me, and there's no pictures in this document. I've got videos. I send videos to them that are real-time current, and they refuse to watch them. They may get long-winded. We don't have time to watch your videos. Well, I'm hoping the people out in YouTube land get entertained, get schooled, get cautioned to please, especially if you're single, and you want to own your house, if you want to buy the house outright. I could go right now if I was dishonest, and it's too late. I've made such a big deal out of this. If I was dishonest, I could go to refinance my house, probably 80% of the value. Okay? If I was dishonest. If I told them there's nothing wrong that I know of, there's nothing wrong with the house, they'd give me the money. But I won't do that. I insist on letting everybody know that our tract in our community is out of compliance with the master plan, the drainage, everything is out of compliance. Plus, they took and lowered my house elevation, my finished floor elevation, so that they could make a retention basin on my lot to store water. But I'll stop here.